everyone, welcome back to the channel again. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the daily race B that is on today at Suzuka, driving the Group 4 cars. I'm driving the Megane. This is my qualifying lap. I'm going to go through a quick track guide before we start the lap. Obviously not going as in depth as I normally do. Braking just after the 50 board on turn 1, attacking it really early on the power as you come through the second part of the corner. You see there, really stamping on the power very early with this Megane. It's got such a good front end, you can get on the power so early. Staying in 4th gear, then down to 3rd gear, you just bite the car into that apex a bit, and then staying in 4th gear, really attack the curbs on the left hand side, and then lift off down into 3rd gear and trying to stick to the right hand side as much as possible, and then very early on the power, working your way through this corner flat out. No need to lift in this Megane. So much front end grip and also rear end grip, you can just go flat out through there without even thinking about lifting. Now into the next corner, down into 4th gear, attack the first part of the curb, down into 3rd gear for the second part of this corner, and then on the throttle as early as you can, using some of the left Astro on the left hand side, and then you're going to come to the next apex where you're going to brake just before that lamppost on the right there, just short of that, down into 2nd gear, and try and get the front end left tyre as close to that curb as possible, and then get on the power as early as possible. Just be careful not to get on the throttle too early, because you can spin the rear of the car out on that corner. Then working our way up to the really fast left hand corner, you're going to look out for the bit of tarmac on the right hand side. I brake just past that tarmac, you'll see there, braking just past it, down into 3rd gear, then briefly up to 4th gear before going back down to 3rd gear to bite it into the apex here now, and then on the throttle very early in this car, very similar to the Ferrari, a lot of grip on the rear end as you put the power down and work your way down this straight now. And this is flat out now in this car. There's no need to lift at all for the 130R. This car has so much front end grip and rear end grip, you can just take it flat out. You'll see, taking it flat out, skim the apex of the curb perfectly, use some of the curb on the right hand side, and then brake just before the 100 board there on the left. This car's got such strong brakes, you can brake really late and also attack these curbs. It's really strong over the curbs. Also a really nice Group 4 car to drive, and a very strong car at Suzuka. Like I predicted, this car is actually one of the fastest at Suzuka. It's going to be a bit different at the power tracks, but any sort of track with handling, this car is probably going to be one of the strongest. I go over line there on a 2 minute 7.0. There is potential probably for myself to get that to a mid 206 to a late 206. You'll see there I'm starting on P2 in this race. I'm in the top 10 stars with that lap. I think that I think it's still on the top 10 stars. I'm not 100% sure though, but I'm pretty sure that I can get back in if I'm not, as I can knock at least 2-3 tenths off that, as you could see from the ghost on the lap. Anyway, you can see there in this race a few fast drivers, some competitive drivers in this race, so getting the win is the main aim. Try and see if I can win. I had a few bad races before this. The first race was going really well that I did in this car. I was in the lead until pretty much the final corner. I lost control on the curb and lost that lead. Still came P2, so didn't lose any driver rating. And then the second race, the final chicane before the finishing line, I tapped P1 on the rear with the slipstream I had and gave myself a 10-second penalty. I did apologise for that. It's a guy behind me who I tapped here now in that Mitsubishi Evolution. As you can see there now, starting the race, we're going to the TV replay camera. You can see people getting really defensive and aggressive at the start. I decided not to go for that move. I backed out and just stayed nice and tight to the apex, just so no one could go down the inside. That Mitsubishi Evolution behind me there, very fast on the straights compared to the Megane, but not quite as fast through the corners. Very closely matched though, as that is also a very strong car at Suzuka. Working my way now up the hill, very close to the slipstream. You can see they're pushing really hard. Went a little bit aggressive into that corner, but just tried to bring it back in now, you can see, and got on the power reasonably early and staying very close to P1, trying to get in his slipstream and see if I can find somewhere to make a move. I've got very good race pace at this track in this car, and this is the track that got my FIA win in the top split race that I did reasonably well in that Ferrari. So I do like this track. I seem to be good at it in the Group 4 cars, and I'm attacking this guy now in front and looking for a way past. I felt like I had the race pace. The slipstream's fairly strong in this car also when you're behind another car, because it's so slow normally. Getting a bit of a slipstream is helpful. As you can see, I got in the power a little bit early, like I warned about in the video before. Rear end stepped out a bit, but I managed to save that, and I'm still very close going into the really fast left hand corner. You can see the cars behind also battling. 5 cars very close together here, all battling for trying to get the win in this race. The Evolution obviously going to gain up on the straights, but it loses a bit of time through the corners, and it's very closely matched between the Evolution and this Megane at this track. As you can see there, I'm going to ride on board now as I'm picking up a very strong slipstream from the Megane in front. I'm going to go for a move now. I'm going to go to the right hand side. He's going to go defensive. I pick up a bit more slipstream, and I'm actually going past him now. We're going into the turning zone. We're not in the turning zone yet. You can see him in my mirror. I turn in, give him space on the inside, and he just clean gives me a tap on the corner. A little bit disappointed in that. I felt like he should have given me a little bit more space, and I'll go back and actually have a look at that and show you what I mean. So at this point we're going to slow it down, and you can see just about there's a 50 board. I'm nearly a whole car's length ahead. I still am not turning in where I'd normally be turning in to take a really aggressive line here now. I'm giving him plenty of space. I'm still pretty much a car length ahead, just short of that. I give him pretty much a car's width on the inside of this corner. You can see there the normal line is going over that curb. I give him plenty of space, not going anywhere near the curb. He goes into that corner far too fast for the angle that he's taking in, and you can see there his car just understeers and swipes into the side of mine. Not really the best driving by him. He should have really backed out of that corner a bit more. If you're going to go side by side with someone through there, you've got to give each other the space. I could go round as fast as I pretty much wanted because I'm on the outside, but I also gave him the space on the inside, and that then caused P3 to get a run at me, obviously, where I've come back on the track and tried to obviously not had the perfect line into the corner. He's got a run on me down the right hand side. The Evo is a little bit faster than the Megane, you can see there. He's also picked up the slipstream. He's got past me. I went to have a little look on the inside as I pulled behind him. Unfortunately, there was no move on, so I backed out of that and just tried to stay really close. You can see I had to give it a little lift there, as the Mitsubishi seemed to not get on the power very early compared to the Megane, and now I've just got to try and get as close to that Mitsubishi as I physically can. Running very close, and he makes a mistake, so I'm going to try and go round the outside now, holding it on the outside, which is not easy at Suzuka on that corner, and then give him plenty of space on the outside there, and I just about make that move and just get ahead of him going into the fast left hand corner, and I get myself back into P2. So a really important move that I had to make because I knew that my race pace was fairly good at this track. So let's have a little look how that worked out. You can see there going into this corner he got really close to me, and then he gets on the power so early. You can see there, look at the way he gets on the power through that corner, and the acceleration advantage that Evolution has on me as he works his way down the straight now. And then watch the leader pull over to give the slipstream to the Evo. They're both Italians. I don't know if it was deliberate. No issue really, but I mean maybe he was just doing it to go defensive. But myself now in P3, obviously after pretty much being in the lead in the race, but getting sideswiped on that fast 130R. But now you're going to see where P2 now makes a little error. He goes into this corner. He doesn't hit the apex there like I do. He runs a little bit wide, so I see that happen. I go to the right hand side, push it as fast as I can, very close to going on the grass and losing control, and then on the inside giving him as much space as I can, and then on the power really early in this Megane, and the grip this Megane has did help me out in terms of putting that power down and getting myself back into P2. But I was really happy with that move, and now I've got to go about getting back as close as I can to P1. As you can see, a lot of battling going on behind me, more Meganes battling with that Evolution. Very close battles with these cars because of the way they are. Obviously the Evolution very fast on the straights and Megane very fast on the corners, and this car, like I predicted, a very nice race car at this track. And now I've got to see if I can get as close as I can. You can see there's a bit of a gap to myself in P1. There was about 1.5 seconds at the point when I overtook P2, so I had to really try and push as hard as I could to get back in that slipstream and see if I could work my way to make a move somewhere else on the track, as I was a little bit annoyed at what happened through the 130R. So if I had an opportunity at an overtake, I was going to take it and go for it. So you can see they're trying to get in this slipstream. You can see I'm very close to picking up that slipstream at this point already. Gained quite a bit of time on him on the remainder of that lap after I overtook P2 and got myself very close to the slipstream. As you can see there, the Megane had a little look on the Evolution, but you just could. When I was behind that in a separate race, even with the slipstream, you wasn't able to gain an advantage on it in the Megane. It was actually losing time to the Evolution, which is really strange. When you're in a slipstream and you're not able to gain time, it shows you how weak this car is on the straights. But the positive is it can carry so much speed through the corners. You can see there 1.1 seconds behind, so we gained about 3-4 tenths of a second on the second half of that lap, and now I've got to get myself into this slipstream and try and get myself as close as possible. I've got 2 laps to make this move. He's got a penalty in front. I've also got a penalty from where he hit me on the 130R, which is a bit frustrating again, that I've picked up a penalty for something that I don't really feel was my fault. And you can see there I'm driving extremely aggressive now. I want to get as close to him as possible. I've got myself now in the slipstream, just 9 tenths behind, and pushing really hard. You can visually see it on the camera looking back at myself, how hard I am driving, trying to push extremely hard to get back in that slipstream. You can see that he actually pulled the gap out a bit on them corners. However, through these 2 right hand corners I was very strong and able to gain some time on a few different laps. As you can see there, this corner under the bridge, I tended to gain quite a bit of time. As you can see there, getting still just under 1 second nearly. I'm very close to getting to that slipstream again. Braking really late. I decided to brake really late into this hairpin just so that I could maybe pick the slipstream up again on this acceleration zone. You can see there, pretty much picking it up very vaguely, but not enough yet. I've managed to build the gap up to the guy behind me now to 1.3. It's a pretty much an identical gap to myself as it is to the leader. It's around 1 second. So he's very close to picking the slipstream up on myself, and I'm very close to picking up a very strong slipstream on P1. And this is got to be on the power as early as I can going onto the straight. You could see the car twitching as I'm pushing so hard now to get into that slipstream, and I managed to do it. Got a much better exit from that corner than P1, and you can now see how much I'm gaining on him down this straight. And now I want to get past him at the earliest opportunity. I've got 1 lap to do it as we go to the final chicane, braking as late as I physically can and attacking these curves to see if I can get in the slipstream for the main straight, and seeing if I can get a move done into turn 1, although didn't quite get close enough. However, we're just over half a second behind now, and I'm going to go over the line with the fastest lap of the race. I think this lap was, yeah, a 2:07.5, so a reasonably good lap for race conditions, as we're going to ride on board with P1 now. Looking back at myself as I'm trying to get as close as I can, but obviously not close enough to make a move that time. So just keeping the car in a reasonably good line, not making any moves to lose time. I want to stay in his slipstream and obviously attack these corners and get really close, and then when there's an opportunity, I will take the opportunity if it comes. As you can see there, the cars behind also driving really aggressively. It's a very close race. There's 5 cars all pushing very close. These sprint races do tend to get very close racing because everyone is going for it and they want to win, and you will find you're driving a little bit more aggressive in these sprint races, which is okay sometimes. However, I still feel that move barging me on the 130, I was a little bit aggressive. I think he could have given me a bit more space, especially if he was pretty much a car length behind at the point. As you can see there now, I've got really close to him coming under the bridge there, and in the braking zone getting even closer. You're going to see now, look how close I am. Having a little look, but decided not to go for that, and then he had a real lag moment there. You saw it on screen, and now I'm very close to getting a move made here. Now you can see the slipstream building up and getting closer and closer and closer. And let's ride on board now with the replay camera, as I'm going to have a little look very close to his slipstream, staying in as long as possible, go down the inside, have a little look, and he just turns in when I'm on the inside of him. Again, not much awareness. He didn't seem to have much awareness of where I was on the track when anywhere near him when overtaking him. Whether it was deliberate, I don't believe it would be, but I picked up a 2-second penalty there. He's picked up a 5-second penalty. However, I'm still in the lead. A lot of the cars behind also have penalties because the penalty system is still pretty much rubbish, but you know, hopefully they'll one day look at this. But like I said in the other video yesterday, I've lost hope in it. I just enjoy the racing, and if you've got a penalty, just take it at the end. As you can see there, going through the chicane, attacking the chicane really hard, getting on the power, and then I'm going to have to brake before the line to take my penalties. You can see there now, pretty much everyone's going to brake just on the line. I brake on the line, he brakes on the line, and then obviously where my car on goes when it's over the line, it gets hit by another car, but that was after the finish line. So let's have a little look now. Look at this, in the apex, I'm pretty much side by side, and he just turns in. He doesn't give me the space on the apex of the corner. I had the right to make that move. I'd got my car side by side into the apex of the corner, and I deserved a little bit more space there, I feel. But luckily for myself, I managed to keep a tight line on that corner and take the win in the race. So a great race, P1, and I was really happy with that because that was my 100th win in GT Sport online at the moment. I think it's about 100 and 260 odd races, so not a bad ratio considering I'm racing in these top split races every single race. You know, I'm always racing with some of the best drivers on the game, so reasonably happy that I've got that 100 wins now, and now we can go for our next one. Is going to be the 200 wins, which is probably going to take me quite a while to do, but I'm sure I'll get there eventually. Anyway, thanks again for watching this video. If you did enjoy that video, make sure you click the thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. I do upload every single day. So thanks again for watching, everyone.